Welcome back, YouTube. This is Shrine King, and this will be a guide on how to map or get like any kind of practices that might help you with mapping, or even just explain what mapping is. So if that all sounds like stuff that you're interested in, this is the video for you. So Path of Exile, that's the game I'm playing, and this is currently Incursions. That's why you see the Temple of Exile off to the side here. But once you have finished the game, so for those that have just recently finished the game, congratulations. This game is not necessarily along the lines of some of the easier ones, so actually completing the 10 acts is a great deal. So when you finish the 10 acts though, you'll get through all of these, and then an epilogue tab will open up from the map, and you'll actually be in Oriath. And then just so you know, like Oriath, because there's so many people kind of standing around, it typically can get kind of laggy, which is kind of seeing it happening here while I'm doing this. But once you get here, to get into the next content, which is the War of the Atlas, you actually want to come over here. You'll see this Templar Laboratory. When you go inside here, there's actually going to be a waypoint. So you make sure to grab that waypoint, and you're going to go down these stairs. And then what's going to happen is there's going to be a woman right here, and you're going to talk to her, and she's going to tell you like about the maps and get you started on it. And then there will be the map device here, which she gives you a map, and you'll go ahead and plug it in here, and you'll say activate. And then once you've gotten her up to like, well, if you have a hideout, right? Once you've done that part for her, you can actually invite her to your hideout. If you are looking for her hideout, you have to bear in mind that you have to get her to and it's Zana here, this master cartographer. So once you get her to level 3, so you have to do her missions, which when you get to the end game, the part that kind of is a little rough there is that you just now get to her. So you would actually have to do missions for her, and sadly, you can't do daily missions for her unless you have her in a hideout. So if you haven't gotten your hideout yet because you want this particular hideout where it looks like this, you're kind of stuck. So what ends up happening is you have to continuously do the maps from the location that she was at until she gets to level 3, because when you go through a map, there's a chance she will be there with a mission, just like any of the other ones. And once you've done enough of her missions and got her to level 3, then you can go ahead and create a hideout for her. So that's something you can do if you want. Again, like if you want it to look like this, that's great. That's one way to do it. But to help explain the Atlas stuff, so also bear in mind that once you have gotten to her, she actually will sell you maps. Now in my case, she's selling higher tier maps and stuff like that, most likely due to the level, and she'll even sell the cartographer's chisels. When you buy from here, it resets if you do the daily mission.
So
it's just something to side note for any of you that are looking to buy from her. Now, the Atlas, as you can see here, I have quite a bit of it already opened up where you can visibly see it. Most of this will actually be grayed out, right? So like all you will end up seeing is these 4 corners, the top and the bottom ones. And you'll notice each one of those is a tier 1 map. So the way this goes is you would go into a tier 1 map, which hopefully by this time, because once you're going through the story, you can actually find maps, I think at like level 66 or something like that. So by the time you're hitting like Act 9 or 10, you should there could be map drops for you. So you might already have some maps. So that's a good thing, because that'll get you going. Now, a couple things to note, right? So like you have to complete said map, and you'll see that here it's got a bonus objective. So it only counts as a completion if you complete that bonus. So you'll see kill boss of magic or higher version of this map. Well, what does that really mean? Well, when you get a map, they come just like items, and you'll see here I get like a yellow one, so a rare that's unidentified, and I have blue ones, magic ones, and these two are already blue. Now, not all maps will be blue. So, for example, if I go to my ones, you'll see here I got magic, beach, couple magics, and then there's whites, right? Just normals. So what they're saying is to get that, you have to at least do a blue. And when you go through this, every time you complete one of them for their bonus, this center number will change here. So you'll see it says I got 78 out of 158. The other thing to note on the map is you'll see like there's a ring around my dungeon here, and there's a ring around my flood and mine map. The reason why there's a ring, it means I actually completed it. You'll see over here I have an underground sea map that I have not got a ring around, and you'll see also when I look at it, it says the bonus has not been fulfilled, which means I've not done it of rare quality. And that's one thing to note as well. So like when you're looking at these, so and I'll explain. Yeah, you see there's a tier 10 right in the middle of this. I'll explain that here in a little bit. But you'll see like you go to tier 4s, tier 5s, it's still magic. Then you get to tier 6 and it says rare. Let's see if I can find another 6. Here's another 6, right? So it says rare. So that's something to know. 1 through 5, you're looking at magic maps to get the bonus. And then 6 through 10, I believe it goes up to 10, right? Yeah, 6 through 10, you're looking at rares. And once you hit 11, so you see here we're at 11, they actually want you to do a corrupted rare. That's nice. I didn't even notice that myself. So, oh, that's great. Yeah, so they always have different parts that you've got to do or to accomplish to get that tier. Now, why is that important? Once you've done it, you've gotten it, you'll see here it says, okay, so because I've done it 78 different times, so it's 1% per, I now have a 78% chance for maps to drop 1 tier higher. Now, there are some tricks to this, and it really is helpful to understand, especially for the mapping experience. So, first off, when you go into a map can drop from any monster, any barrel, bucket, destructible resource, any chest that's laying around, so like anything that you open up, a map can drop. The catch, though, is that map can only be the tier that you're in or lower. So if you're just starting out, you'll only see tier 1s. But when you kill magic monsters, unique monsters, rare monsters, corrupted monsters, or bosses, they have a chance that they will drop a map 1 tier higher than the one you're in. Now, at base, you don't have any boost to that. So then, when you complete these, you'll see here I have a 78% chance that when it drops, if a map drops off any of those magic mobs or bosses, that it could be 1 tier higher. Now, another thing to note is rarely, and I do mean rarely, a boss can drop a map 2 tier higher. Now, one thing I don't know is if the 2 tier higher part actually even takes the advantage from this. I'm going to assume most likely not, because they're pretty specific, saying 1 tier higher. So I think the boss has just a base chance, and then he can drop 2 tier higher. But there is a catch to that rule. While a boss can do it, it can only do it if you've completed at least 1 map of the tier higher prospects. So like, for example, if I'm in a tier 1, for me to get a boss to drop tier 3, I've had to at least done 1 tier 3 map across the atlas. And as long as I've done that, I'm good. So what does that mean for you? So it means when you're going through and you're mapping, and let's say you're in your tier 1s, and you're like, I have like 5 tier 1s, and you find a tier 2, and you're like, well, that's my first tier 2. I'm going to hold off. Don't. Go ahead and knock it out. And if you get lucky in your tier 2, you might actually get a tier 3. And it'll be the same thing. You'll be like, well, I got those 5, I got some more tier 1s, so now I'm up to like 7 or 8, but I got this one tier 3. I'm going to hold off because I don't want to use my tier 3 yet. Don't. Go ahead and knock out that tier 3 as well. And the reason being is because now that you've done the tier 2 and you've done the tier 3, well, assuming you can do it, because they do get harder and harder as you go. So let's say we did it, we got to the tier 3, and we've completed that. Now we can actually go back to the tier 1s, right? So that, because it's okay, well, in the tier 1s, the like 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, because maybe we got some more, right? Now we can go ahead and do those, and on the boss, every time we kill that boss, now has a chance to drop a tier 3 for us. So that gives us a chance to not only get more tier 2s, but also have a chance to get tier 3. And then once you go to tier 2, right, same idea, right? So like if you get to tier 2, well, and you're like, now I'm going to start grinding out tier 2. Okay, well, just bear in mind, you get that tier 3, go ahead and knock out that tier 3 because you're hoping to get a tier 4. And if you do get a tier 4, run that tier 4, knock that out, and then go back to your 2s, right? And then just grind 2s to just start building up and cycle your way up. Now, from my experience so far, it does seem like at lower tiers the map drops are a lot higher. Once you get to higher tiers, it does kind of slow down. And the part I'm finding out that really does seem to slow down is once you get to like past tier 9, like up to tier 9, that's where it seems to kind of slow down a bit. I don't know if it's just I got unlucky, but I'm just giving some advice from what I'm seeing. If you see the same thing, just bear in mind it's not the end of the world. It's just I think it's part of their mechanics for the grind. Now, I've given you all the basis for what you start with for maps, what the maps are, and how you're going about like what tiers and so on and so forth. And like I said, based on the tiers, each tier is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So they go by levels. So like by the time you get to like tier 9, 10, so like most of the monsters I think are like 75, 76 or something like that. And it's going to just keep getting harder. Now, as you're doing that, what'll end up happening is you will find a shaper area, and what that is this starry sky kind of stuff, right? So you'll see these starry sky things that appear on the map, and you're gonna be like, what the hell is that? And it's a shaper location. And there are two, I guess, evil bosses or main bosses for the War of the Atlas, and that's the Shaper and the Elder. Now, as you're going and getting around to that point, right, you're going to start seeing the shaped areas, and you'll notice like, okay, well, the things kind of get a little stronger in the shaped areas, a little more unique. It becomes a little more, let's just say, troublesome. And one thing to note, right, so the Shaper will potentially, he doesn't always do it, but he will potentially bring in a extra boss. So when you go to fight a boss, sometimes at the very beginning of the fight, he'll spawn another boss. Sometimes it's when you've almost like gotten the boss halfway dead, he'll spawn another boss. And sometimes it's when he's either dead or almost dead, he'll spawn another boss. But even then, like I said, there's still the chance that he won't spawn a boss. But every time you walk into the zone that is shaped, you always have the Shaper say something to you. So that's one way to know. And like I said, you have the starry aspects on the map. The other thing is whenever you go into a map that is shaped, there will be starry stuff on the ground. Right? It looks like some kind of weird goop. Now, what's that for? So, and what does that really do? So one, you have the Shaper, which is a boss, and there's some story to it, and there are goals to it, but things to note for you as a player is that in a shaped zone, there is shaped items that can drop. Now, just to kind of show that, I were to go to here. So you see I have an Armageddon Guardian gold plate. And you'll see that there's like this weird starry stuff behind it. It's because it's a shaped item. And what's important or what's special of a shaped item? Well, what it is they can have special stats that are only found on shaped items. And I'm going to see if it actually will specify it on here, because I don't think it will. Oh, it does. So there it is. The suffix mod of shaping, tier 1. So that's the part you see. It says recover 5 to 6% of maximum energy shield on kill. That is a unique trait. You don't normally find that, so you only get it on shaped items. To give like another example, here's a tornado one that is shaped. Which one? I think it's the volley. Yeah, there it is. So socketed gems are supported by level 18 volley, and it has 19 to 22% increased projectile speed. So this one actually has 2 shaped mods on it. So, and again, like I said, those are just unique. Now, I mentioned there's an elder guy too, right? There's another boss, and well, I have an item here that looks even weirder than the Starry Sky thing. It looks like this thing's got some kind of virus on or something. And that is an elder item. So in here, something on here should be Eldritch. There you go. So very top, well actually I'm sorry, not the very top one, but the top prefix, you'll see Eldritch, tier 3. Socketed gems are supported by level 16 power charge on critical strike. Also, its damage apparently is of a rate that is tier 3 Eldritch. So I'm going to assume there are standard prefix modifications that have a certain range by their tiering, and then there's Eldritch, which I'm going to guess at this point can go a lot higher. That part I don't know exactly, but seeing that it's already at 101 to 115 and that's considered tier 3, that makes it sound like it can get up to like 150% or higher in a tier 1. And I don't typically see that much occur, because I mean, you gotta bear in mind, like for the prefixes, if it didn't have other prefixes, it could actually stack some of those prefixes, which right now I'm seeing quite a few. There's a lot of prefixes on that one. So those are the kind of things that you can look forward to when you're doing these things. Now bear in mind there's also uniques that are associated to that as well, which I do believe I have some of them from when I cleared. Yeah, so like for example, here's an Eldritch, an Eldritch unique, and it's the Blasphemous Grass Assassin Mitts. I got this from actually killing the Elder. And then you have the Voidwalker Murder Boots, which that's a Shaper one. Now, going back to this section, one thing to note is there is a way that you get a special gem, or it's some kind of item or tool from the Master Cartographer, Zana, the lady I was talking about earlier. And she will allow you to use that to then alter or shape a map. And what that means is, like for example, like I mentioned, each one of the corners is tier 1, right? But you'll see here, I have a tier 6. It's because I shaped it. So, and if you notice there on the, like, you got lookout map tier 6, and on the right side there you'll see shaped map. If I go to another one, you'll see there is no shaped, right? So none of that says shaped. So, how did I do that? Well, when you get to tier 6, and I mean only when you get to tier 6, and if you are in a shaped map at tier 6 that is rare, right? So completing of a bonus, the boss can or will, I'm not certain on the probability, but I do believe it is actually a will, because I got it my first time, and I'm pretty sure that's how it's meant to work. So when you do that, your first shaped tier 6 bonus completion, so it's going to be rare, the boss will drop a memory fragment. And the memory fragment has information about, I think the Shaper or Elder, I'm not sure which one precisely. And then that's the thing that you turn into Zana, and then she gives you an item that says that you can now shape a map, and it'll be a tier 1. Now, with that said, I do highly recommend that you Google, like, what are the best picks for shaping the maps. I had already shaped a couple. I'm pretty sure like the tier 1 that they mentioned is the beach. It's because it's really quick to clear, very linear, easy to do. Then there's other ones that are associated to places that allow there to be divination cards that drop. Specifically, they're very good for trade and profit. So I would highly recommend that you do Google that, look it up, and then use that, preferably. Now again, to me, the way I looked at it is there's like, based on my build, there's certain places I just enjoy being a little more. So if the advice was like, oh, it's just for speed clear, nothing really associated to divination, I more or less went with what I preferred, based on play style. So, couple final notes, right? So this would actually just get you started, right? This actually explains everything for the War of the Atlas, how to get going, what to do, right? And I'm gonna actually show a map run, pretty quick, here in a little bit. But one thing to note is, like, you'll see this other field. So at some point in time, you'll actually start having the Elder influence show up. Something to note is the Elder influence, while it has a certain area, if you see a shaped zone, so like for example, this is all Elder, and then here's a shaped zone next to it. If I were to do this, and it does not have to be of the bonus completion, just run the map, this zone will become Elder influenced, spreading it. If I were to do any of these inside the Elder zone, I would actually clear the Elder influence, like basically taking away part of it. If you're looking to get into more of the endgame content, like trying to actually go towards completion, or fight the bosses, so there is the final of all final battles, which is once you've reached tier 15, it'll unlock tier 16. And then you can fight the Uber Elder and Shaper. But you can fight the Elder and Shaper prior. So that's something to bear in mind. To do it, you have to get the invasion to occur. So what you're seeing here is influences showing up, but it's not an actual invasion, it's just influence. When you spread that influence, and that influence is then covering, I think it's around 17 maps. More specifically, I'm pretty sure it starts at 17, but it might happen a little sooner than that. So just bear in mind that you might see something occur. And what happens is you get this all spread out, and once it's like 17, what'll happen is certain maps will all of a sudden show up with weird colors on them. So like you'll see, like a lot of these are white. The ones that I have yellow in the white area, it's actually because I shaped them. The one that's red inside, like my normal yellow area, it's because I shaped that one, so now it's at that certain tier. What'll happen is you'll see something like bright blue, purple, and just other, like maybe green. I can't remember all the colors, but I think like one of them's green. And what that is the Elder and his generals have now invaded. Now, what do you do from there? Well, all you actually have to do is go to the maps that they're at. You don't have to run, they don't have to be magic, they don't have to be rare. Even a white works fine. Now, bear in mind, whatever one that you're running, so if you do a magic or you do a rare, whatever benefits were there, and whatever disadvantages were there, are still there. So, if it's your first time doing it and you're not really certain how strong they are, or maybe like clears are a little bit slower than you like, or it takes a little bit while, like a little while to take care of the bosses, or it seems like the bosses, if they hit you, it's really close to you being one-shot kill. I highly recommend that if you are still trying to do it and you just want to see it, don't run a rare map. Maybe do a magic, and even then I'd probably go to just start with a white, and go from there, because like I said, the disadvantages that come from those whatever map you pick is still there for that fight. Now, it's not something you just show up and it's like, boom, here's the boss, fight it. You actually still have to clear the zone. So you will clear the zone. Once you get to where you normally would see the boss, that's actually where there's a trigger, and stuff will occur. It's pretty straightforward. You'll easily be able to go through it. Just bear in mind each boss or each general does have unique traits and are specific to certain elements, and there are mechanics to their fights. So there's like ground mechanics, certain cone effect abilities that will hit like all the way through. So you just want to be very aware of that, pay attention to it. Once you kind of get the mechanics down and stuff like that, and you've made sure that you have proper elemental resistances and stuff like that, so if you haven't capped out your resistances, I do highly recommend it, because when you get into those fights, it will be tough. And it will be really tough if you don't have capped resistances. One thing to note, right, like I said, it'll show the Elder, so you'll see the Elder and you'll see the 4 generals. You have to defeat the 4 generals first before fighting the Elder. So all you do is you go through those maps, you beat them, and then you go to fight the Elder. The Elder specifically does have kind of like a timing mechanic to it, from what I've heard. I haven't had an issue with any kind of timing things. I don't know what the timing really is. What I can tell you is for that fight, most of it is not too difficult to grasp or understand. What I will advise, or give you a heads up to save you some trouble, is there is a point where he starts doing some weird AoE ground effect looking thing that just starts spreading from him. I immediately took that as like, I need to get out of it, and it's not how that actually works. There is a special spot that he's picked in the area that is safe, while everything else is basically going to be a one-shot kill. So when he goes into that, and it's going to be this big dark circle, right? So you're actually looking for like a weird gray kind of little circle, and he places it randomly. So it could be like right on top of him, it could be next to him, it could be on one side of the area. But there is a certain amount of time as this thing's expanding. Once it expands all the way, that's pretty much it. Then it blows up, and anyone that's in it, you're probably going to die. I think I survived one of them, and I mean, like, literally I survived it with like 2 hit points. It was very lucky on my end. That's the one mechanic that it was a little hard for me to understand or figure out, just because normal models is like, just get out of said thing that you see. It looks really bad. So yeah. Once you beat them, they're like, it's just like any other boss. Typically, it's going to drop certain items, and they obviously have higher chance of dropping really nice items. And then again, like I said, when you first start, I would definitely do it like white, and then if you go to do it again and you didn't have any problems, I would do the magic. Or if you're feeling really confident, I would say, yeah, go ahead and do the rare. And then the nice part is, obviously, if you can do it on the rare, it should be a significant amount of drops because they're rare. Now, to that same note, we were talking about the shape maps, and I mentioned, like, hey, once you get to 6, you will immediately get 1, and that's for a tier 1 map to make it 6, because when you go to shape, it always is 5 levels. And then, well, now how do you go to get, your tier 2 one to make it tier 7? What'll happen there is, so you had the tier 6 one that you got. Once you get to tier 7, right, there's what'll happen is you'll see Elder influence like this, and there'll be like this little purple circle just like this. So either one of these, if I were to do these, I can get my tier 12 Shaper's Memory, which would then allow me to do, I think, tier 7, right? So this was tier 6? Yeah. I would be able to then shape a tier 7 so that I would have one tier 7 that would be actually tier 12. So when you see that, if you have the map for it, same thing, go do it. Make sure you do it with the bonus objective modifier, and you should be good. You'll once you kill him, well, if you kill the boss on that, right, you'll get a memory fragment that'll drop. So that gives you all the information associated to said mapping, right? And what to know, and like what are you really looking for, and how do you go about like fighting the boss and all that kind of stuff. how do you actually map? Well, so I have a map tab. You'll find all of these maps. Like for the map tab, it helps help me keep organized for it. So if you are pretty big into the game, I do recommend it because it is nice. Because like as I'm looking here, I can actually see which ones I've done, which ones I haven't done, what I don't have. So like for example, Belfry I've just not done, but I have done the bog. I just don't have any more of the bog. And then I can tell like, hey, what tiers am I seeming to be very harsh on, and then which ones am I seeming like I have excess. Like, so I've been working, I think, on tier 7s, right? Because I have a lot of tier 7s. I'm trying to get more tier 8s so then I can roll into tier 9s. But as you can see, like I've gone through tier 8, tier 9s, 10s, even some 11s, right? So I can even do 9s and have the chance of 11s to drop. But if I were to try to do 10s, I wouldn't have a chance for 12 to drop. I'd have to do this last 11 in hopes to get 12. And as I said, like the rule of thumb is, try, right? Which, as you can see, I've tried twice. I just didn't get a 12. It's been a little bit rough. Like I said, the drops at this point, it gets kind of rough for me. So just to show, like, so you get this section as you level Zana. She'll start giving different things, and you'll see where they'll have different parts that they're adding onto there, and there's benefits to it. So you'll see areas inhabited by additional invasion boss, and then you have 20% increased quantity of items found in this area. One thing I don't know is if you did invasion on an elder fight, if it would spawn 2 of the elders. And actually, that might be pretty scary. But so on the maps, you'll see you have item quantity, item rarity. It says monster pack size, and then it has certain traits to the map. So you see this one says that monsters have chaos resistance, or extra chaos resistance, what I should say. And then they also have extra elemental resistance. In my case, I'm pretty heavy in elemental damage, so it's something to bear in mind. It's like, okay, they're actually 30% more resistant to me, which is one of the reasons why I run a curse to reduce their resistances. So even in that, I'm typically still doing full damage. Now, one thing to side note here, map drop rate is not impacted by your own like rarity, quality, or quantity drop off of all your gear. All of that does not mean anything for maps. Map drop rate is specifically driven by the map itself and the crafted benefit onto the map. So like for example, if I were to say I want to do warbands and it says 20% increased quantity, and then I have 13%, I'm looking at 33% increased quantity of drops, allowing me a higher chance of a map to drop. Only by that. Now, if I had 180% quantity on my character, that's great, but it will not change the map drop rate. What it will do is cause more items to drop, and potentially currency. I've heard stuff back and forth on whether or not it will allow currency, but there you see I hit activate and then bam. Alright, here's portals that come up. I go in. Here we go, right? So I'm in a zone. This is the map. This is pretty much all you do. When you get to the grind, it's the real grind. So for those that have just finished Act 10, welcome to the grind. You're gonna be here a while. So yeah, you just go through and you're just killing things. And like I said, the magic guys, right, they have a chance of dropping a map 1 tier higher. And all these other guys, they still have a chance to drop a map. It just can't be 1 tier higher. It's going to be either the tier I'm in or lower tiers. And that's the part that kind of sucks, for my opinion, is when we say lower tiers, it's not like, hey, it could be like two tiers lower. It's like, no, it can go all the way down to 1. I can be in a tier 12 map and get tier 1 maps to drop. And it's like, man, wow, that really kind of sucks. If you ask me, I would prefer that they have like some kind of limiter on how far down. It doesn't have to be anything like super crazy, super free, and then just go with that. Like, and even if it was like probability stuff, that's fine. Maybe probable 3 down. That's cool. But having it where it's like, hey, you know what? I just ran a tier 12 map, and 5 maps dropped, and every single one was tier 1 and 2. Yeah, it makes me not really want to run tier 12 maps, especially if I just ain't getting anything out of it. Yeah, it really blows. But it's part of grinding. But just like anything else, it's just keep going through. Oh, one thing to note. So Alva, right? This is incursion stuff. This is not necessarily specific to maps, but it's kind of related. So when in these zones, because of the benefits that you get on the zone, yeah, we're gonna go for the explosion. By the way, if you are in this season and you are starting out, and you don't really know anything about this stuff, pay attention. There are 2 architects that when you go into the incursion that do certain things. So this one says that they have poison plants throughout the temple, and then this one says it contains an explosion charge. The explosion charge allows you to blow up a door, letting you into certain areas that you don't necessarily have a path. And these are the paths. So like you see, I already have paths here, and then as you see these like little red dots, those are actually, if you find a stone of passage, which you'll see, unlock this door with a stone of passage. That will allow you to make a path that way, only if you get the stone of passage and get there in time. So we're gonna go for the explosive charge, and the reason why this is important, right, is because the bonus on this map, the drop rate bonus, accounts for this. This already has an inclined bonus because it's supposed to be difficult, right? It's a short time, so like you see, I only have 7 seconds as I killed things. My timer goes up, which is thank goodness. That's good. That actually, like, the first couple seconds, you need to kill quick. If you ain't killing quick, it's pretty much over. Here, I'm just racking it out as quickly as I can, trying to kill this boss. But this, elemental bullcrap resistance is not helping me. So it's I do good damage, but apparently not that good. But there we go. So just clear through. Right? And I mentioned, like, oh, you know, if the stone of passage drops, that's what I'm looking for, right? That's what I want. And there it is. And like I said, if you had enough time, great, but I didn't have enough time. Now, if you complete it with extra time, and you go back to the portal, it does tend to drop more items. So like what you saw here is the items start dropping. I've had it where it's just been this full circle all the way around her, and it just kept going. And it, like, would have like 1 or 2 uniques drop out of it and stuff like that. It's just crazy. Absolutely, I do believe it has to do if you completed the entire thing with time to spare. I think it might even be related to how much time to spare. If you get back out the portal, I do believe if you're starting out with that, I highly recommend it. So there you go. So those were normals. So like I said here, oh wow, okay, tier 2. Yeah, it's superior, great, but I mean, I'm only in a tier 7 map. So that's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, I wish they would put a limit. Like, hey, you know, tier 4 could have been like the bare minimum. What I could have got would have been okay. It's not great, but it's okay. But getting like tier 1, it's like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna run any of those. Yeah, that kind of sucks. You know, or if it's gonna be a tier like 1 or 2, give me the ones that are higher. You know, the ones that are shaped. Just make it have to be that way, you know. But I get it. You still want to be able to get some of the other maps, simply because like other people might need them. You can also take those maps like bigger group type stuff, experience. Which I might actually do at some point. Knock out some groups. Let them get some experience while at it. Now, because like I mentioned, the probability higher tier map, like 1 tier higher, is off the magic mob. I highly recommend that when you're going through here that you try to at least focus through clearing the magic mobs. while all mobs can drop, magic mobs are the ones that really are helping you out there. Okay, well, alright, there's stuff blocking now. And then you get an arena, right? So then the arena is actually where the boss will be. Typically there could be mini fighters or monsters in there, right? And then there's the boss. Just like any other boss fight, you need to try to kill him. This guy in particular, he likes to go into the lava and stuff. Because he actually heals. Pretty annoying. And you kill the boss, and like I said, the boss only has a chance to drop it. He will. Just a chance. In this case, he didn't. And then that's it. That's the map. And then you go out, do your normal drop off because you're like, ooh, I found goodies, whatever, sell it, doesn't matter. And then you just go back and say, hey, you know what? I'm ready for my next map. And put it in there, and it'll reload, and you got a new map. And then you just keep going, right? So you keep doing that, try to progress as much as you can. So I hope this really helps. Like I said, this is more towards just the War of the Atlas kind of stuff, which is, again, endgame content. So congratulations for making it. And if you get through all the way to do Uber Elder and stuff like that, absolutely congratulations. I can only imagine how difficult that is, especially considering the grind to even get there. So, again, welcome to King's Court. I'm Shrine King. I hope you guys appreciate this. If you like it, please feel free to leave a like. You want to see more of it, please subscribe. And let me know your thoughts, right? So go ahead and put down some comments. Let me know the things that are good, maybe things that you're curious on, or you're not too sure, or you want some advice in games, or maybe even there's other games that you want checked out. Just let me know, because I get into all this stuff. I check all different kinds of games out, and I'm here to help as much as I can. So absolutely. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.